Welcome to True Diversity Film Series, Standing in Solidarity. My name is Donna Walker-Kuhn. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm Senior Advisor of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at New Jersey Performing Arts Center. This evening, we are pleased and delighted to host a conversation on hip hop featuring Curtis Blow, Crazy Legs, Jen Weber, and the evening was curated and will be moderated by Bill Stefani. This social justice series is part of our Standing in Solidarity initiative. And the purpose of this series is to bring our community together, to encourage everyone to take part in the movement to ensure civil rights for all. On our website, you can find archived prior social justice panel discussions, as well as resources that will help you take action. We're also very happy to have as our advisors the Newark NAACP, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, the Newark Arts, the Truth and Racial Healing and Transformation Center at Rutgers University, Newark, the Africana Institute at Essex County College, Asian American Arts Alliance, and ACLU New Jersey. Now, NJPAC would like to offer a land acknowledgement. The language we're using was created with the consultation and guidance from Chief Dwayne Perry of the Ramapo Lenape Munsee tribe and Oleana Whispering Dove, the Eastern Salagi Algonquin descendants. And we're grateful to them for their generosity, wisdom, and labor to craft these words. We, the Lenape, original benefactors of land once ripened and cultivated with attentiveness to the Creator and her ascendancy, express everlasting gratitude to our Creator for the traditional ancestral jurisdictions of the Munsee, Esopus, Canarsie, Capsee, Verpoes, Siwanoy, and Weekasqueak, jointly known today as the Ramapo and Natakote Lene Lenape. We are the Lene Hoking today and will be for the remaining days of tomorrow, keepers of the past. Let this moment of recognition be a monument of action. Let it be the beginning of hope for this, our Turtle Island, and for the Ramapo Lenape, the Munsee people of whose land we now trod. Here on this land and this place of the Munsee, we acknowledge our debt to those who have come before us, to those who've been denigrated and suffered for the sake of cultural and land appropriation. Let this, our land acknowledgement, be the beginning of our return to unity. Let us be guardians of the water, the air, the earth, the four-legged, the flyers, the swimmers, the crawlers, the mammal people, and the green. Let us now stand lifting our humanity, enrapturing with Earth's consciousness as guardians of harmony and kindness. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this amazing discussion we're going to have, Bill Stefani. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop, Bill, originally a multi-instrumental musician and pioneering college radio DJ, is the man who brought Public Enemy and Def Jam to the radio. He worked with Spike Lee and Chris Rock to put music in their movies. He previously was chief executive for Def Jam Recordings, Soul Records, and Stepson Music, and has produced artists from Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees Public Enemy to singer-actress Vanessa Williams, and supervised music production for such films as Boomerang, BB's Kids, and Shaft. Bill has recently produced 2 acclaimed documentaries, Kaepernick in America, which was an official selection at the 2022 Tribeca Film Festival and nominee for Critics' Choice Documentary Award for Best Sports Documentary, and Philly on Fire, which was awarded the Library of Congress Ken Burns Prize in October of last year. Welcome, Bill, and thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you so much, Donna, for that incredible introduction and for having me back. I feel like we were just here, and we were about a month ago in October with our previous panel, and we are now back by popular demand for the second part of our Standing in Solidarity series on hip-hop's first 5 decades. And please get ready for our incredibly esteemed panelists to talk about the culture of hip-hop, including art, music, and dance, and its legacy and we are joined by folks who I have been influenced by, who I've been entertained by, I've learned from, over the years. This is really, one of the most incredible assemblages of talent that I've ever been involved with, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy their presence, and their commentary. Initially, we'll do some housekeeping. Apologies. Our previously scheduled guest, Nelson George, could not join us tonight because of an urgent obligation. So, hopefully we'll have Nelson back at some point in the future for another panel. I'm sure we will. But we have some incredible folks who we're about to hear from tonight. The first one that we will introduce is Kurtis Blow. Kurtis, welcome.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Bill Stephanie. How are you, sir?
All right. The KUR, the TIS, for sure. Welcome. And I do want to give, your incredible background. And just for some revelation, I can go back to when I was a teenager, late teenager, around 18 years old. And one of the first major concerts that I attended was at Madison Square Garden. This is a historic evening. It's September of 1980. That concert featured Bob Marley in one of his last concerts, the Commodores, Lionel Richie and the whole group, the first real Commodores, and Kurtis Blow. So just to give you a sense of the level of legend that we have here, Bob Marley, the Commodores, Kurtis Blow, 43 years ago, and we are so lucky to have him tonight. He has been instrumental in raising the first generation of MCs and continues to carry the torch for hip hop music into new arenas. In 1979, Kurtis Blow became the first rapper to be signed by a major label. Mercury released Christmas Rappin', and it sold over 400,000 copies, and it became an annual classic. And it really is. The season is here when you hear those first strains of dun, 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 dun. That's all Kurtis Blow. So after that, Kurtis had The Breaks, the gold follow-up, which helped ignite a still spreading international rap attack. He released 10 albums over 11 years, and he's had incredible hits. Party Time, which was probably one of the first fusions of hip hop and go-go, Ego Trip, 8 Million Stories with Run DMC, AJ Scratch, which, anybody who was at a party when AJ Scratch, came on, the place would go absolutely crazy. Basketball, America, and, even a romantic song. I remember actually trying to romance a young lady to a song called Daydreamin', way back when. So one of the most, I'd say, versatile MCs, also a dancer, also a host, just so many things. One of the great producers of all time in hip hop. We welcome Kurtis Blow.
Thank you, Bill. And I must say thank you for your support and inspiring me to be a part of the Hip Hop Nutcracker. This is our 11th season, and I owe it to you because you came to my show up in the Bronx one day and said, man, backstage, I'll never forget it. You said, man, that was a great show, Kurtis, and you would be incredible as a host for this new project called the Hip Hop Nutcracker. And I said, the hip hop what? And man, you introduced me over at NJPAC. I went over to one of the rehearsals and saw all the talented young people dancing, b-boying and b-girling to classical music. That was incredible. And then we had a DJ. He was cutting up live beats, hip hop beats under this classical music. And I'll tell you, that warmed my heart. And I thank you because you inspired me. When I saw that rehearsal, I had to be a part of it. And that was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And to your point, you actually performed my segue, my introduction, Kurtis. Fantastic, because we do want to bring in Jennifer Weber. Jen, can you join us?
Hello.
Hey, hey there. Hi, Jen.
How's it going?
Good, good, and welcome. It's good to see you again. We got together some years ago for a panel conversation about hip hop, ballet, arts in Newark about 9, 10 years ago. It was actually on November 20th, and here we are back again. So great to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, good. So I'd love to go into your background. Jennifer Weber is a double Tony Award nominee for the 2022-2023 Broadway season, with nominations for Best Choreography for her Broadway debuts of In Juliet and K-pop. The Tony nominated, Olivier Award nominated, and Emmy Award winning artist is based in New York City and Los Angeles. Weber also made her West End debut as the choreographer of In Juliet, and the show is currently playing in Australia with US and national tours beginning in 2024. Weber collaborated with Disney Plus as an executive producer and choreographer for a film interpretation of the Hip Hop Nutcracker, which is, as you know, Curtis has already referenced, a project that she conceived, co-wrote, and directed, first as a stage show, along with NJPAC, and also with tours that go around annually, and then was captured as an Emmy-winning PBS special. Her film directing debut, While You Were Gone, which she wrote, directed, and choreographed, premiered at the prestigious Dance Camera West Festival and won a 2022 Emmy for Outstanding Arts Entertainment Short Form Content. See, I knew you and met you before all these Emmys and all the Tonys and everything that you've done. Absolutely amazing, stunning success. Congratulations and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And certainly last, but without question, not least, we are joined by, maybe the face of hip hop dance. We can go back and watch all sorts of films and videos really throughout the history of hip hop, and you'll see this young man's face. And he was he was a kid when he was first in those films and videos, and he's still a young man today. We welcome Crazy Legs.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, no, thank you for being able to join us. Given our focus, and we're going to talk about the history of hip hop, and especially as it relates to dance, but there's no way I think that we can have an appropriate and full conversation about the topic and everything that it covers without having you. As I said
Thank
before, if someone had to say and had to point to the dictionary of b-boy, from the culture and who represents it, it would be Crazy Legs, who was a b-boy from the Bronx,
Thank
New
you.
York City, USA. He was featured in the earliest stories on hip hop dancing to appear in mainstream press, and as president of the Rock Steady crew, he brought the form of that dance to London and Paris in 1983. Today, he is also involved in community outreach, dance instruction, dance theater productions, technology, which he may discuss with us later. His pioneering status is reflected in his appearances in fiction films and documentaries, and he's been in many Flashdance, Wild Style, Beat Street, pretty much all of the major films that featured dance and hip hop during the most crucial time of the culture featured this man and the Rock Steady crew. He grew up in the Morris Park section of the Bronx, where he was introduced to breaking by his older brother when he was 9. He was
Cousin. It was my cousin.
Okay.
No. Yeah, there's a little. I get where you're going, but
yeah,
but I'll explain that later.
You can clear it up.
Yes.
And again, he was an original member of the Rock Steady crew.
Yes.
Welcome, Richard Crazy Legs Colon.
Thank you. Oh, wow. You even got the Colon right. Wow.
Well,
no, everyone gets that wrong.
I have to do right by my Cuban and Puerto Rican half background.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Okay, cool. So you
Yeah,
get it. I don't have to explain.
yeah, no,
Well,
no,
first of
no,
all, I'm
for sure.
honored to be on the panel with such great people who have amazing accolades and talents. So, I'm always blown away by Curtis Blow's resume because he has one of the most interesting resumes, from being on stage to behind the scenes and having an impact on several careers outside of his own. And I think it's people should look into that. It's just really interesting and
Yeah, yeah,
unexpected.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, I want to start off with Curtis. And for all three of you, just to give a sense of, you know, how you've arrived here. But we will start with Curtis. Curtis, um, how did you find yourself interested in participating in the arts? Was it as a child, as a young person? You know, what brought you to emceeing, to DJing, to dancing, to all that you do?
Well, I have started to realize and recognize that this is a part of my ancestry. But I say my earliest knowledge of this thing called hip hop, or let's say music in general, was my mom. She was a great dancer up in Harlem. She used to go out to the Cotton Club and the Renaissance Ballroom and the Savoy Manor, and and she had a reputation around the neighborhood of being this great dancer. And so people used to come to our house in the neighborhood, and you know, we were playing music, and I was her DJ at 7, 8 years old. I used to walk around the house with a little pen and pad and take requests and take it back to the component set. And that's a component set was a TV, a radio, and a record player, and an 8-track player all in one, right? And so I used to go back to the turntable part and stack the records up, the little 45s, and put them on the turntable. And I was fascinated by that needle when it went over and dropped down exactly to the beginning of the record, and the record music would play. So I became fascinated at that process. So I was an avid supporter and lover of music from the very early ages of my life. And I remember my mom used to go to the record store in the neighborhood, and every record store had a speaker outside that they would play loud music all day. And you would go into the store, and she would have to stay on top of the top 10 records of that week. So every week I would go and pick up the chart and read the chart. Oh, we don't have this song, we don't have that song. So I became her DJ, the family DJ, you know, at the holidays and birthday parties and just gatherings over the weekend and stuff like that. And that's where I learned my love of music. So when people used to come to our house and they would say, "Oh, come on," her name was Minnie. We called her Skinny Minnie. And they would say, "Minnie, Minnie, come on, dance for us. You can dance. You're the best dancer." And she would be so modest and say, "Oh, I can't dance, but my sons can dance." And she'd push us out there. And my brother and I would cut the rug, right? And so my reputation got out around the neighborhood that little Kurt, this little kid, he can dance, he can do flips and this and that and footwork, and he's fast and all this stuff. So the older kids came to my brother and I said, "Man, we want your little brother to be our secret weapon when we go do battle across town at this place called Chuck Center," which was like a club back in 1972, 73. So I went there and we did well. We won the contest and everything, and I became a part of this dance crew. B-boys, we called ourselves, the Hill Boys. That was our name. And I started DJing because the DJs would not play the right music. During that time, disco was coming in. Everybody was listening to the Village People and Patrick Jovet and, YMCA and all that stuff. And so we listened to soul music. It was so very important that we all understand that the music during that time was so very special and inspirational. The way we danced to that music, because everyone was trying to be like James Brown. He was the revolutionary artist that changed the whole sound of music with the boom bap sound. Boom, step, boom, bap, boom, boom. So when we heard that sound, we lost our minds. Everyone wanted to be James Brown. When you went to the party, you wanted to turn the party out and create a circle of people around you doing James Brown moves, doing splits and turns and footwork. And later on, it became something like that cipher. That circle is still up in the Bronx and up in Harlem, like Saturday Night Fever, when John Travolta was dancing and somebody, all the people in the club moved back and created a circle around him. And pretty soon somebody else got in the middle of that circle, and there was a competition. And the winner of that competition was the most popular guy. He got the girl, right? He was the hero. And that sort of thing happened up in the South Bronx and Harlem. But the cats up in the circle were doing acrobatics. They were doing, James Brown moves, and really it was more acrobatic and more funkier to soul music and the sounds of Jimmy Castor and the Castor Bunch and Baby Huey, Listen to Me. Even the Isley Brothers had a song called Getting Into Something, and The Rock, Apache, The Mexican. All these songs were obscure funk songs that we played in the world of disco. And the most important thing about these songs was each one had a funky, funky break so we could go down to the floor and do our footwork and our dance moves and be James Brown. So you had to have that funky, funky music with a funky break. But that break was only 15, 20 seconds long. And along comes a DJ, Grandmaster Flash, who knew that whole process and that whole contention that the crowd would go crazy when the beat went to the break or the song went to the break. And it was a time where there was chaos and the exciting and the crowd was making a whole lot of noise and stuff. And so he wanted to find out how could he extend that break. And he got two of the same records that another DJ, Kool Herc, was playing. And Kool Herc is widely known as the father of hip hop because he played those songs that had the funky breaks in a club called the Executive Playhouse. But Flash was like an opening DJ for Kool Herc. And so he figured out a way to extend that break. So he got two of the same records that Herc was playing, and he played just the break part. And when it got to the end of the break, he started it over again, which was like the first sample loop, so first loop. So it was a continuous sound of just the break. And the MC, who started out as a dime a dozen, we had to figure out how to do more than just make announcements, because we were just carrying the equipment for the DJ, and he would let us in free, right? And so we would make announcements like, yo, Joey, your mom is outside, it's 12 o'clock, you gotta go home, or just, yo, Sam, your car is getting towed. So when Flash extended the break, he gave us the opportunities to shine and do more than just make announcements. So we came up with little rhymes like, yes, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all. Now just throw your hands in the air, and using crowd response and telling little stories like, whatever. And that was the first part of the emceeing for the MC to come from behind the turntables on the side of the DJ, but we went out front of the turntables and became the focal point, getting the crowd to a level where a DJ couldn't do it with just music. So that's where I started. I come out of that whole contention, that mindset, that whole lifestyle of escapism from the civil rights movement and racism, poverty, all of the violence and inequities that were happening during that time. And that's where hip hop comes from. That's where it started, from the civil rights movement into dance, into the music being the message that we wanted to listen to and forget about our troubles. And it was escapism and just a whole lifestyle that developed a culture that happened in 68 through 73.
That's 73. Yeah. Yeah. The music and the message all came together. You went to those parties. In fact, you would hear a song by MFSB called "Love Is the Message."
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Crazy Legs,
Yes.
you're pretty much coming up in the Bronx around the same time. You know, you're experiencing directly what Curtis is talking about. Give us, you know, some testimony about you know, what you experienced.
I grew up in a single parent home, mom raising 5 boys, 1 girl, on her own. So there was a lot. It was a very difficult situation. Access to certain community programs, if any, were, you know, few to none. So at the time that I was a kid, I was really young. I was 9, 10 years old, and we were all into boxing. I was on my way to going to the Junior Olympics for boxing as a kid, and I couldn't afford the like $12, $14 for the application fee or registration fee. I used to box. That was my first love. Baseball was also another first love. And because all those things cost money, it became a thing of like, okay, well, we don't have that money. We're on welfare. You know, we're moving all around the Bronx because we're being evicted constantly. By the time I was 18, I had 10 different addresses. So that's what the kind of instability and imagine the trauma that goes along with that. So now in 76, I see my brother who was down with Africa Islam as part of the organization crew. The organization crew was what eventually became the the Mighty Zulu Nation. Saw them both comparing moves in front of where I lived on Garfield Street in the Bronx. And I was just a little kid. I'm looking at my brother and thinking like, wow, why is my brother throwing himself on the floor and shaming my family and just like, you know, cleaning the floor with his clothes, and like he's embarrassing us. Like, I don't understand what he's doing. Like, what is he doing? And then the following year, my cousin Lenny Land is the one who brought me to a jam on Crotona Avenue by 180th Street. And this is where a brother by the name of a Puerto Rican cat by the name of Little Angel was DJing. And you know, it was kind of like an environment that I had experienced for the first time outside of a regular witnessing of a jam session in my house. My mom and I'm listening to Barry White and El Gran Combo, all this stuff. Now I'm going to a place where some of the same records are being played, but within the context of, like Kurt said, the looping of the beat. You know, we're listening to disco, but we're also listening to disco funk, which had more of the break beats. So you had like CJ and Company with Devil's Gun, and so you had all these different songs. And I had witnessed everything. I was super shy. I didn't dance, but I witnessed at the age of like 10, 11 years old, people getting down. I saw people comparing graffiti, and this wasn't by curation. no one curated this in terms of like, okay, the graffiti writer is going to be doing this, break is going to be doing that. No, this is just all very organic, almost like a genesis happening. And I witness it and I'm blown away. And me and my little shy self back then, I just jumped on the floor with my busted clothing. I had no style, I had no flavor, I had no moves. And I probably had no friends either. But I got down for the first time in my life. You know, and that was during a time when, you know, we're at home watching Soul Train a lot. You know, we're watching Sábado Gigante, different things because my family was very much, I would say, very Latino, but we were very tight knit with the African American side of our community. So my home was also the place where these big parties would happen for the neighborhood. So I got to experience everything. I remember people doing what's now known as like the electric slide or whatever, but when it was the bus stop, which, you know, which is the original name. So I was witnessing all of that. They used to have like literal jam sessions in my home. My, you know, upright bass, organ, timbales, congas, bongos, 5-part harmonies going on with my uncles. So I was always surrounded by Latin soul, salsa, all that stuff. So and then my 3 older brothers were all disco DJs. So that led to like a little civil war because I'm on my hip hop stuff. This is before it's even called hip hop, and they're on disco, and we're going back and forth. And like I'd be like, all your music, it only sounds like boom, 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 boom. And then they make fun of me and be like, yeah, but none of your DJs know how to mix. I was like, damn. Because a lot of the DJs in hip hop were just cutting records. They weren't. There were very few DJs in hip hop who were good at mixing. And I would always lose that argument back then. But yeah, so eventually I become part of a crew called the Bronx Boys. I try to get to another crew called Rockwell Association. Rockwell told me I was too young. I start getting better. You know, 6 months later, I'm teaching my cousin after he was teaching me. And I eventually become part of Rock Steady crew. Jimmy D and Jimmy Lee, the founders. Me and my cousin battled them. We lost the battle, but we showed that we showed promise, we showed potential, and we earned our way in based on that potential because we were coming back every week. And back then, the criticism was harsh, blunt and harsh. If you were trash, you were told you were trash. And because of the environment that we lived in, that was just constructive criticism. And it was okay if someone said, yo, that's trash. You need to go home and work on that. I'd be like, all right, cool. I'll be back the next week better. And then, you know, eventually in around 79, the dance is fading. I'm getting better. I made up the backspin, the windmill, all these moves. And it's like, oh my God, all these people are stopping to dance. They stopped dancing. So I started traveling around New York City to see if I could find other B-boys that I could battle. I'd battle them. And then most of the times I won, but then they would use me to like a mercenary B-boy to go battle someone they already lost to. So I started to be used, and I started forming this group, and I eventually get a chapter of Rocksteady crew, and I ended up taking it over. I had probably like the biggest crew, one of the biggest B-boy crews in the city. I had about 500 people, which is pretty insane for a young cat like myself at the age of 15 years old. And I'm actually leading people who are like 4 or 5 years older than me as well, which I think about that now and I'm like, wow, I had to be good because I definitely wasn't mature, you know? So it was pretty interesting. And, you know, we ended up, you know, doing some of the first.
How old were you at this point?
But when Rocksteady was given to me, I was 15.
15. Amazing.
Yeah, that was in 1981.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, because we're looking back and, you know, we think of this culture, like you said, organically emerging, without curation. But, you know, probably folks are still thinking, well, these are adults in some way, you know, Kool Herc, what have you. But really, we're talking about teenagers, you know,
Here's
developing this culture.
If you look, my girl, when she looks at my pictures of us really young, and she's from Torrance, California, so lived in a bubble. When she looks at my photos, she's like, you guys are so young and you look like you have so much on your mind and you've been through so much. The expressions on your face look like you already making adult decisions. And it was that serious for a lot of us back then. You know, we had to grow up real fast and do a lot of fighting. So I think there's a lot of trauma that a lot of us went through and never had the opportunity to go deal with. And I think a lot of us are only now learning how to get therapy and control the puppet master of our lives, which is our past trauma.
Sure,
Wow.
sure.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah,
would like
that's
to add to that if I could, Bill.
yeah, quickly.
uh,
Yeah.
Crazy Legs is totally 100% right. We were going through a lot of trauma during that time. Like I said, you know, it's right after the civil rights movement. We had Martin Luther King assassinated, JFK, Malcolm X, RFK. You know, it was a troubling, trying time during that time. And so in comes the gangs, you know.
Mhm.
Wow. Remember that movie? What was it?
Warriors?
Warriors. Oh my God. That was the Bronx and Harlem, right? So you have gangs all over the city, man. If you were not in a gang, you couldn't come outside your house. I mean, I remember my mom asking, go to the store and give me a Coca-Cola, right? And a Pepsi. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you really sure? I may not come back. You know what I mean? So getting to that point. So what we did was, I know you remember this, Legs.
Yes, I know where you're going.
We danced on the rooftops. Now, just picture this. Now, my neighborhood, 140th Street and Amsterdam Avenue, if you go all the way to 141st Street, that's one block, right? Every building is connected. There are about 4 or 5 buildings that connect all the way through the block. So if you go up to the roof on 140th Street, you can go across the rooftops and run to 141st Street. And that's how you got away from the gangs when they were chasing you. All right.
Or the police.
Or the police. I didn't want to say that one, but yes. That was
We've come a long way.
escape route. No, that was our safe haven. So we danced and we rehearsed and we had boom boxes up on the rooftops working out our routines. And that's how hip hop really, really got popular, when we started rehearsing and doing routines up on the rooftops. And that's where, you know, we started the Cypher and got people involved and excited about being a part of hip hop. But it was safe. It was safe on the rooftop.
Yeah, all of that is just, you know, as you're describing it, Curtis, it's like a movie, you know, in my mind. It's cinematic, you know, what you're talking about. Jen, you know, in light of what you just heard from Legs and from Curtis of how environments can impact a young person to creativity, what inspired you creatively as you're coming up as a young person?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's just like so amazing to get to hear these stories from these amazing pioneers who obviously, you know, are first generation of hip hop culture. And, you know, for me, like my story is quite different because I came through much later. But for me, like I started out just really being inspired by movement because as a kid I was super shy and I never spoke in school and I never wanted to talk to anyone. But when I found dance, I felt like there was like a different type of language, and this language that I could use to speak that I actually felt really confident in speaking with. But grew up in a small town in Massachusetts, and I took like little like tap in jazz and ballet class in a strip mall, you know, and it wasn't even a very good school. And I was probably one of the worst dancers in like the back line of the recital, you know, kind of thing. And, but I love dance and I kept working at it. And I would used to like record music videos and like teach myself Janet Jackson choreography and like choreograph on my younger brother and like make him learn dances. And then I got to college and I went to school at University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And when I was there in Philly, I thought I would like, like audition for all the like student performing arts groups. And I did, and I was rejected by all of them because I had absolutely no dance skill whatsoever. But I didn't let that stop me. And I started my own company there called Strictly Funk. And I was like, it's going to be a hip hop company, because I like knew this thing, like I knew this word, but I didn't really understand what it meant. But then like being in Philadelphia, where there was like a huge hip hop scene, and as I got old enough to like go out and go into clubs and stuff and like discover like the underground scene that was happening in Philly, I realized that like this language of movement, like that I felt was like the way I could communicate with people in a club setting was like my way to like be part of a community, that I had never felt before, because it just felt so free that this was like this language that I could sort of be inspired by and participate in. And, to make a very long story short, I moved to New York and I was going out a lot and meeting a lot of amazing people and realizing that there were all these amazing dancers who were like throwing it down so hard in clubs and at parties and jams, and all this stuff was like happening. Like New York was so happening. This is like the early 2000s. And there just weren't a lot of opportunities for people outside of this world to see the amazing talent. Like if you weren't in the know of like where the jam was happening, you weren't going to have the opportunity to like see the skill and the like amazing artistry, especially for female dancers. Like there was just like no jobs for female dancers, like especially the early 2000s. Everything was like be in a bikini and like do that kind of thing. And like some of like the best like B girls I knew, they'd like go to an audition and they would lose out on a job because the producer would just want somebody who had a very specific look and not the best dance skill. So I created a company called Decadence, which was an all-female hip-hop crew, and we started doing our own shows basically and like touring around. And we toured all around the US for many years, all over England. And it was like really creating that community and like meeting more people and learning more and diving in more. And it's like, it's all about like what you learn from the people who are in the space with you. Like that's what has always inspired me. And then, with Decadence, we sort of started exploring different ideas about how we could use this movement in new ways. And eventually that led us to creating the Hip Hop Nutcracker. And it has been an absolute wild ride ever since then, which was about 11 years ago, which seems crazy, Curtis. I don't know how we could do this for so long.
Yeah. So, and Curtis gave us an incredible intro about how he came to Hip Hop Nutcracker, but talk about from the point of your conceiving it to the point that you connect with Curtis. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty quick. So with Decadence, we were actually doing a show that was like sort of merging like hip hop dance with Vivaldi. So we were doing the Four Seasons, and we were doing it, we had done it at the Apollo actually. And then we were trying to like find more places to do that show. And we got hooked up with the United Palace, which is up on 175th in Washington Heights. And the head of the United Palace, this guy named Mike Fiddleson, he sort of said, I don't know about Vivaldi, but what about the Nutcracker? And I was like, whoa, like I have a little tiny company. It's like 6 women, and the Nutcracker is like a big thing. And to be totally honest, I had actually never seen it. But I'm always down for like a new challenge. And he just, in the United Palace, being in the middle of Washington Heights, he really just wanted to create like a new holiday tradition for like a more diverse audience. And it just seemed like such a great kind of idea, because I at that point been experimenting a lot with sort of like the juxtaposition of hip hop and classical music. And what we sort of found that was been so exciting was that like when you put these two worlds together, it like lets you kind of see the music. It lets you like, you see the music and you kind of hear the dance, but like in new ways, because the music is so like unpredictable. And so that like kind of forces you to think differently about movement, and when you don't have that predictable loop, like that loop that is the basis of hip hop, like, well, what happens when you take it away, you know? And that's sort of where we started experimenting with. And so once we sort of put the show on in a very short little excerpt way at the United Palace, NJPAC kind of came to see it, and they got behind it and were really interested in helping us evolve the show from a little 15-minute sort of experiment to something that could be much bigger. And that's when Curtis came on board. It was our first like full year of the show, where we put the whole show up with an amazing company of b-boys and b-girls and lockers and poppers and, you know, all these like amazing underground dancers that were like all of a sudden getting the opportunity to be the star of the show, and not be behind a pop star, not have their movement cut up by a McDonald's commercial, like all those things. It's like actually letting them take the stage and showcase their ability as a storyteller. And, you know, and that's been what's been so exciting, is to be able to bring this incredibly talented bunch of dancers across America, and, you know, show this gorgeous art to so many people, and just inspire people at the holiday. So that's sort of how it began.
Yeah. What an amazing beginning. And, you know, that you've been able to interpret what you started at the Palace Theater in Washington Heights over a decade ago, you know, into a film experience is absolutely amazing. And, you know, as I was doing just the background for tonight, you know, what impressed me about all three of you is that all three of you have been able to fashion a major film background. You know, for Curtis, you know, probably the first kind of, well, I won't say the first, but one of the first big interpretations of hip hop and film would be Crush Groove. And Curtis being, you know, one of the stars of the film, the song "If I Ruled the World," which was later covered by Lauryn Hill and Nas, it all comes, you know, from that experience. Curtis, talk about that progression from what you described earlier of being on 140th in Amsterdam, you know, when you're a teenager, moving forward, you're on a Hollywood stage, not really Hollywood because they shot it in New York, but you have a director, you have Hollywood producers coming in now interpreting what you experienced as a teenager coming up in Harlem. Did you ever envision that happening?
Wow, you know, that's a good question, because you know, I don't want to be on an ego trip or say I was a visionary back then. Bank my whole career after that whole concept of hip hop, the culture, when I was a part of it, from going to the Kool Herc parties and the Executive Playhouse, and also the Peak DJ Jones parties as well. And I knew the difference between the two. And so my whole thing, just being the first rapper signed to a major label in 1979, Mercury, Polygram Records. Actually, there's a story behind that, because when I was signed to Mercury Phonogram over in the UK. And I'm from Harlem, so here I am, a British artist. And my first records came back to America on an import, which is amazing. And
yeah,
so
I have the import. I still have it here in the house.
Yes. So I went on to record 15 albums, 240 rap songs, and I never used profanity. And I owe that to meeting Reverend Jesse Jackson, who pulled me to the side in 1980 and said, "Curtis, you guys are the new heroes and icons of the community. So if you want to take this thing over the top and get it really popular so everyone will accept it and love it like we do now, keep it clean." And he said, "I want you to go back to all of your crew all of the Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five, and tell them what I said. So I did that. I went to the Sugar Hill Gang and Flash and Mel, and I told them, you know, Reverend Jackson said, man, we are the new heroes of the icons of the community, and we owe a responsibility to keep it clean. So we made a pact right there to, I call it a code of ethics, that we would never curse on the microphone, never diss each other. And if you check their albums, their repertoire, you'll see 240 songs by Kurtis Blow, and never curse, never once curse. So, you know, my history in hip hop goes a long way from the beginning, and I'm so very grateful. But I remember, you know, like I said, you know, I took the culture into the classroom and the classroom into the culture, and that's what gave me an advantage over everyone else who did not do that. So my first rhyme I wrote was a rhyme that I would like to say is, in the 1600s, we couldn't dance. You were burned on the frost for a little romance. They called you a witch or a mean warlock. America would hang you if you tried to rock. But I know that you know it wasn't true. For those Africans over in Timbuktu, they dance all day and they dance all night. African dance was a great old sight. And now it's the year of the 1980s. All the ladies in a Mercedes, you come out your house and dibby dibby dab, come and jump all into a cab and come on down to the place to be and listen to the sounds of little old me, because I rock and I don't stop, you know. And that was the whole mindset of hip hop during those early days to where we have it now. So it's all about that peace, love, unity, and having safe fun, y'all.
Yeah. That just, you know, so amazing to experience you doing it now, because it just took me back to that period. It just transcends. It's you know, it's like a time capsule.
And
You know,
also, I want to
that.
shout out Jennifer Weber, because she was very modest in her telling about herself. She has been our, let's say, our woman king with the Hip Hop Nutcracker. Every year she comes up with these brand new, exciting additions that we have adapted to, and she has made incredible strides and just coming up with the creative ideas. And I want to mention one of them is the cipher. Remember, I was telling you about the cipher. She includes the cipher in the Hip Hop Nutcracker, as well as all these other choreography gems that she comes up with. And she's the most incredible, talented, strong female woman king for the Hip Hop Nutcracker. And I thank you for making me a part and believing in me, Jen. Thank you.
Oh, Kurtis, we could never have done it without you. It's just been such a beautiful collaboration. I mean, I remember when I heard we were even gonna meet, and I was so nervous, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, Kurtis Blow even wants to have a conversation with me. It's just been amazing. And you know, there's just something about the show and the energy that, Kurtis, that you create as starting off the show that just is so special and really sets up the audience to have this amazing experience. And first they're listening to hip hop, and then they're listening to classical, and it all gets mixed up in their head, you know. And the energy, it's something about the energy that's that special energy that Kurtis, that you bring to the stage and to every space you're in. It's just really magical, you know. And audiences across the country are just very lucky to get us to score a ticket to see you live and to see the show. And hopefully everyone's going to come out and see it this year.
Yeah. And we know that at least in the New York area, that Hip Hop Nutcracker is coming back to NJPAC on December 23rd. That's a Saturday. There'll be two shows, one at 2 o'clock and one at 7:30 p.m. So there'll be more information on the NJPAC website, and also Hip Hop Nutcracker travels throughout the country. Want to go to Crazy Legs though for a minute?
Yes.
Back to the film experience. Recently, we lost an elder, Harry Belafonte, who
Yes.
was the director of an amazing production. A little bit before Crush Groove, we had the film Beat Street, which really, really does capture so many of the elements of what everyone has discussed for the formation of hip hop. Legs, if you could talk about that experience of being on the set for Beat Street, working with Harry Belafonte, with Guy Davis, with that incredible cast of creatives for that film.
Well, keep in mind that we were very wild back then. We were teenagers that were living double lives, still coming out of the hood and having the opportunity to be able to perform and do things like that. It's difficult because when you're traveling the world and not, you don't even realize that the money you're making is such short money, and you end up back in the hood, you fall back into what you normally do. And to be on that set, it was pretty cool. I think one of the things, and I'll be honest, we were so wild back then. Any kind of nugget of mentorship that we got that hit stayed with us. So even with Harry Belafonte, I was standing with him, we were talking, and I saw his ring and it said LM. Don't know what it meant, but I said, love money. And then he goes, no, love many. But the thing is that at least that still pops in my head as a form of like, keep your shit right, Legs. Keep striving, love many, do better, do more. It's weird because now when I think about Beat Street, that's the moment that I think about first. Because if you look at most of us who are in that cast, we didn't really have mentors, a lot of single parent homes. How we acted on the set was basically how we acted when we went to a jam, or how we acted when we were hanging out in front of our buildings. And I don't think we really had we didn't, all right, since we didn't set out to be part of that life, we fell into it. We had no real appreciation for it. So we're just like living for the moment and not even prepared for what's to come next when the rug is pulled out from under us. So there were moments where we made good money, and we did invest in the leisure time of teenagers ourselves. But I would say that had I had more guidance in my life at that point, I would have been able to stop earlier in my life and take it all in. Doing Beat Street was more like, well, we can't wait till it comes out so we can all go to the movies and see ourselves, and then everyone will love us. There was no real appreciation for the art. We loved our art, but we didn't even appreciate how it could be interpreted by other people. We just, let's go battle, let's go smoke these dudes. And the compliments that we looked for were from girls or ourselves. We never cared about anyone else's perspective. Even when we did Jam of the Groove, which is a Broadway play that we did off-Broadway at Minetta Lane Theater in the mid-90s, even when we performed then, it wasn't really about what the audience thought, because there were moments when we knew we did a great performance, and got a horrible review. And then the next day we did a bad performance and got a great review. So we started to not care what anyone thought in the audience and just dance for ourselves on stage, because we knew we were on what was, you grow up, you hear the Great White Way. And then you start working there, and then you realize, okay, that's why. Because then you're subjected to all these things. And had we known better and had we been nurtured for the industry, we probably would have done a lot of things differently. We probably would have appreciated being in Beat Street a lot more. Rocksteady Crew wasn't even supposed to be in Beach Street.
Hmm.
It was supposed to be New York City Breakers, but there was a issue with them. And then we came back from tour, took their position, and then Dynamic Rockers took the lead position.
Got it. Now there's an incredible scene. There's the dance-off scene in the Roxy.
Yeah.
That happens. That's Rocksteady and New York City Breakers or Dynamic.
Yes. Rocksteady versus New York City Breakers. Wait, did I mess it up?
Yeah.
New York City Breakers took Dynamic's place. Sorry, and then, I'm sorry. Dynamic were no longer part of it, and then New York City Breakers took over, and that's how it happened. But yeah, but that scene, it's all right. Is this PG or
it's PG? It's the arts.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's just say there were a lot of things floating around on the set, and we probably weren't in full capacity by the time we started battling. And take that how you want. But even when, let's say, we came towards the that scene, and it got towards the end of the battle, which was like kind of chopped up. We were told, okay, I need 2 guys from each side to figure out what's going to be the last move of this scene. So me and Ken Swift versus Pex and I think Chino. We go 3 rounds. Boom, they're out there. Okay, no, we still didn't get it yet. Okay, now we need 2 people from each side. Then it ends up being me and Powerful Pexter. And then we go 3 rounds, and by the time it's about to be my last turn, I tell Buck 4, like, yo, stand in front of me. And then I knelt down and I untied my laces. I told him I'm gonna try something. And that move, when I do continuous backspin, ball up into a backspin, and take my shoes off and do a bridge, I had never done that before. But I wanted to close out the scene with Rocksteady having like the best closing moment. And so that was something that was, I think, for me, like a standout moment, because I actually tried it once, never did it, whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna go for it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's legendary now, so, which is cool.
Yeah. And in fact, for those of you who have joined us and still on with us, I've linked to that scene in the chat. There's a YouTube link, and it is really, one of those film scenes that kind of accurately defines the culture for that moment going forward. That if you want to have a sense of what this looked like in that period, you go to that scene, and you go to, I think, to that movie. And I remember there was some criticism about Beat Street in its time, that it wasn't completely representative of the culture, that it was kind of sanitized, so forth. But looking back, and I watched it about, I'd say, a year ago in full, it holds up very, very well.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest. Like, for us, when we did that battle scene, the music that you hear in the battle scene isn't what we were dancing to. When Arthur Baker and them made that song, because we come from a funk and soul background, we were like, what is this trash? We're not dancing to that. Give us James Brown. Give me Jerry Castle and the Castle Bunch. We want something that we can get down to. So if you look at the scene, you'll see that the rhythm of our dance doesn't necessarily match the kind of, if you want to call it, funk of the music that was laid over it. But I think even to the point of me, actually, to the point of you saying what hip hop was about, hip hop was also about that moment. Like, okay, well, I gotta dig deep. I'm gonna try something, and I gotta shock everyone, and we gotta win this battle, because we were all pretty much running out of moves by the time I did that move. I don't know what I would have done after that. So, but I think that's like a lot of us, the whole something out of nothing mentality. When you think about how the genesis of hip hop happened, it was born out of desperation and poverty. So I think and it's crazy, because some of the best things have come out of that situation, and we're at a different time in life with hip hop right now and society. People have access to more, and maybe that's why there's a lack of real creativity and real funk and real soul. I'm not hearing the pain that I felt when I was a kid. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very different. I don't see the pain in people. And I'm not saying they should have pain, but we came out of pain, struggle, and dysfunctionality, which led to us having that funky top rock, those dope rhymes, that coolness, you know, that vibe, that little bit of fly gear that you made look fly because, all right, your jeans are busted. Now you're gonna figure out what to do with Clorox on your jeans, or add a zipper on the side, you know, things like that. We have to be so creative, man.
Yeah, Curtis, speak to that a bit. So here we are, 2023. You were on stage for the huge 8-hour celebration in Yankee Stadium of Hip Hop 50, which was absolutely incredible. But you know, there's been a lot of commentary, a lot of think pieces, editorials from folks who've come up in the culture. Kevin Powell, I think Nelson George has written about this as well. Some other writers who speak to what Legs just spoke to, that there seems to be something missing from an essence standpoint from what all three of you described about the rise of hip hop culture for the past 20, 30, 40, you know, even 50 years, that there's a soul that may not be there as much as it had been. Do you see that? Have you experienced that? You know, tell us your point on it, Curtis.
Well, you know, that is sort of a controversial issue. You know, being one of the elder spokesmen of hip hop, I want to keep it positive and not really bash anyone or talk
Sure.
about lyrics of today or styles and all the violence or the sexual content of today's rap. But I know that if you travel outside of America today, you go to places like Germany, they rap in German now. You go to France, they rap in French, Spanish in Spain, Japanese over in Japan. So it seems like the countries outside of America have embraced hip hop. And not only that, they've made it their own culture. Yes, there is still an American culture in Germany, a small one, but there is a huge German hip hop scene, and cats are rapping in their native tongues, and they are the top pop artists of today. I see the opportunity and the chance for us to change the world. We changed the world already with hip hop. Hip hop is now, or rap is now, the #1 genre of music streamed around the planet. Everyone around the world is tuning in to hear what hip hop has to say. So we have the opportunity to change the world again. So my message to the young people out there is the future is yours. The world is in your hands. The future of this planet is in your hands. So with all of this power that we all possess right now, you have a responsibility. And I want to paraphrase Martin Luther King by saying, you know, any time of the day is the right time to do the right thing. And that's my message to all of the young people out there. I love you. The world is yours.
Yeah, you know, Curtis, you just referenced Dr. King. You know, perhaps one of the most inspirational projects you ever worked on was a song and video project called King Holiday, which was a commemoration of the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. It brought, you know, basically an all-star crew of MCs and artists into a studio to work with the King family to put together this music memorial for Dr. King. Talk about that for a second.
Well, that song came about because we all were supporting and fighting for the national holiday for Martin Luther King. And so when we achieved that goal, I get a call from Dexter Scott King. So he calls me on the phone. I'm up in the Bronx in Co-op City. I get a phone call. Hello? Hello, Curtis. this is Dexter Scott King, and I want you to make a song about my father.
He sounds like his dad too.
Right? So I hung up on him. He called me back twice, 2 more times. I hung up on him again. And I didn't believe this was, the son of Martin Luther King. So we talked and he told me, and man, I put together the idea, got with Philip Jones and Kool and the Gang and so many artists. I wanted to make a song that used a group of people who were not a part of the "We Are the World" song that Michael Jackson had did with the Commodores, and I wasn't a part of that. So I got together with Whitney Houston, Stephanie Mills, Tina Marie, Kool and the Gang, Menudo, and we added the hip hop to it, with the Run DMC and the Fat Boys, and of course my partner Melly Mel, and we put together the most meaningful song that I ever produced in my life, and that was the King Holiday song. And the name of the crew was the King Dream Chorus and the Holiday Crew. And a big shout out to Polygram Records for helping me produce that song. We did it at Quadrasonic Studios down in Midtown Manhattan, and Polygram prayed for everything. Now, I want to shout out Prince, my man Prince, rest in peace, because we needed to make a video. And Polygram said, no, we have no more money for this project, And so we started searching around, making phone calls, and Prince said, I'll pay for it. Prince put up $90,000 so we could shoot that video.
Wow.
So thank you, Prince. We owe you much. Hip hop loves you. Hip hop owes you. Humanity owes you. Mm-hmm. And thank you for making that video possible for King Holiday.
Wow, that is hidden hip hop history for sure. I don't know if that's ever even been revealed before. So that's amazing. And we'll try to link to it in the chat as well. Certainly in the Stephanie household, every Dr. King's birthday, even if my kids don't want to hear it because they're very young, we put on the King Holiday chorus because again, it's that inspirational. Jen, Curtis talked about the impact internationally of hip hop, in Germany, across the globe. You've worked on a K-pop project production on Broadway. Talk about that a bit and talk about the impact of American culture as it's now undergirded the K-pop movement, which is one of the top music movements that we now have going.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's like always blows my mind is when I get to travel abroad and how the language of hip hop has translated to all these different communities. Like, I've gotten to go everywhere from Moscow to Tokyo to Paris to Berlin, all these places and connect with different like hip hop communities. And, even in places where you think like people are going to have nothing in common with you, like that language of dance and the way people have sort of connected with hip hop. I think there's just something about it that so many people can find themselves in it. And it's really interesting to see like the sort of small differences, regionally, like almost like regional, like dialect, the regional accent of like how hip hop has, become this sort of like force in these different places. And you could definitely obviously see the influence of hip hop in K-pop, and, I think hip hop will just continue to influence culture around the world and spark people's creativity and spark people's connection and spark people's community, because it is just so powerful. And there's just, there's something about that language that people feel that they want to speak and they want to learn. And, I totally, think that, of course, there's different sides of hip hop today. There's things that feel more authentic, things that feel less authentic, but the authentic things are there if you look for them. and the community is there, and the international community is massive, and it's just so beautiful. And I think anyone who does their research and dives in will quickly be able to sort of decipher the difference and find their way, if they're interested, to something really powerful.
Sure. Jen, we have a question for you from Candace Foster. I may have missed it, but what was Jen's major at UPenn? Was it in
I was a
performance
communications
arts?
major.
Com major.
Com major, yep, at the Annenberg School many years
Wow.
ago.
Wow, fantastic. Another question from Candace for Crazy Legs. Breaking is a full body, high impact movement. How did you physically prepare your body and how did you recover afterwards?
We were never really into any idea of stretching or anything like that because, again, this is something that was organically created. So there was no kind of structure before you would start practicing. You would, we put it this way, I've been through 7 surgeries. I've done a lot of damage to this body. I need like 3 more right now and a knee replacement. So, but that's not for anyone to feel sorry for me. That just goes with the territory. And if you're growing up in a world of look, think about it. I can't imagine that tap, that these guys created tap because they were stretching with a bar or something like that in a dance studio. No, brothers got catch a wreck in the tenement building hallways and out in the streets. Get a piece of wood, throw it down. No one said, "Yo, let's go stretch out first." No, it's so young, man, and you're was super resilient. We heal fast. So a lot of those things we took for granted and out of ignorance. And I think as we got older and matured and learned about things, we did start to take that on a little reluctantly because you're breaking a long habit of not caring. So, yeah, I think that's basically it. Don't stress, get hurt.
Yeah, for
I've
sure.
been through a lot.
Yeah, we are coming up. I can't believe how quickly this has gone. Sometimes, especially during the pandemic, you do a Zoom, you're like, oh my gosh, this thing is not ending. Well, this actually has gone incredibly quickly, and that's a testament to all 3 of you. What you've been able to reveal to us, to share with us, has just been so valuable and just so impactful. Again, thank you very much. Let's close it out with next thoughts. So here we are. 50 years, where are we going? Are we going for another 50 years? Are we going for another 50 months? What are we doing? What's going to go on? And we'll start with Crazy Legs.
I would say evolution always wins, and that could be good or bad. That's the problem. We don't know. We could fight for what's right and could continue to push information that can lead someone to be aware, but awareness without action is useless. So it's like, and the difficult thing about that is that we can't police people. You could share information, then it's up to them, and like for me personally, I'm not dancing anymore. I mean, maybe like organically at home or whatever, if it happens naturally somewhere, but my performing days are done. I can only hope that right now the next generation figures it out, because even if you're just thinking money, this is one of the most powerful industries in the world. And if you don't take care of it, you're going to lose your power. Because at the end of the day, money rules everything, when it comes to how the world operates. And we have a lot of good projects that could help to sustain and continue to evolve hip hop in the right direction, especially when it comes to bridging gaps between people who have cultural differences. It's an amazing tool. It is one of the best tools we've ever had as a community. And I'll end this real quick. Real short example of, I used to live right by Little Italy in the Bronx. But I couldn't cross to Little Italy to get to White Castle because it was very racist back then. But decades later, I'm in Sicily teaching, and I'm thinking like, wow, this is amazing. I couldn't even walk through the neighborhood of your people. And now I'm over here teaching in Italy. So hip hop has done major things to break stereotypes and bring people together. And we have to remember the power of it.
Yeah, and now we see in 2024 in the Paris Olympics, we see breaking is going to be a sport featured.
Yep. I
What are your
think
thoughts on that?
I've been reserving my thoughts on that. I think for us, I think my only thoughts should be there should be a good judging system. There should
Sure.
be an ambassadorship program that leads into the communities of people where this kind of stuff comes from, because they're less fortunate. They are the people who didn't have the $12 and $13 for the registration fee for something. So we have to pay that back to the communities where things like this comes from. And at the same time, we have to make sure that what's happening isn't for the sake of exploitation and the opportunity for the Olympics to have more impressions, because a lot of people have stopped watching the Olympics. And fine, you want to use breaking, you want to use 3-on-3 basketball, you want to use all these things, but what's the path for all of those athletes when they don't win? How do they sustain themselves after? And those are the things that are really important to me.
Yeah, very smart and just very good. And thank you for that. Jen, what's next on Broadway, off Broadway? Hip Hop Nutcracker continues certainly, but I know there are probably many things on your plate.
Absolutely. I think though, like the thing that, that I'm sort of thinking about, like, is, when we do the shows, when we do Hip Hop Nutcracker on tour and you look out into the audience, you see that literally the most diverse audience you will ever see in a room together, experiencing the show together, because you get people who love ballet, you get people who love hip hop, you get old people, young people, every race, every background, and they're all coming together to experience holiday joy. And I think that's, the thing that's so special about the show, and the thing that gives me hope about hip hop in the future, and art in the future and the next generation, is that when I see, all these people who you don't normally see together, like experiencing something together, it really does give you hope for the future and for the next generation, whether that has to do with art or bigger concepts. But when you see everyone, jamming to Curtis, and then you see everyone jamming to our amazing violinist who then plays Tchaikovsky, like, and then a DJ drops the beat, and you feel the sense of community in that room in such a powerful way. And so I think that's sort of my thought, is just about, there's so much hope and there's so much potential to bring people together through this art form. And that's really the power.
Amazing. And thank you so much. And we'll close it out with, our just legend. And one of the absolute pioneers who's just shared so many details for our experience this evening, the incomparable Curtis Blow.
Thank you, Bill. Well, this is something very special, this culture that we call hip hop. And on the 50th anniversary, I just want to say I am so grateful to be here. And I pray wholeheartedly for everyone to be around for another 20, 25, 30 years of this culture called hip hop. And so getting to the Hip Hop Nutcracker, this is a representation of the real culture of the 50 years. After 50 years, we are still here representing with the monumental show called the Hip Hop Nutcracker. And it's all about peace, unity, love, and having safe fun. And that was the original contention of hip hop. And so we're still here. I just want to say to everyone and leave you with these words Again, the world is yours. You have a responsibility to do the right thing. I have heard it said that rappers, MCs back in the days, this is difference between an MC and a rapper. Now, the MC was on a mission to uplift and build his community. But now I see, and I have heard with my own ears, with the new songs that are out here today, that rappers are trying to tear the community down. So we need to change that narrative. Like I said before, any time of the day is the right time to do the right thing. You guys have the responsibility to your family, to your friends, to your community to keep it clean. You may not agree with me and you don't have to, but I'm just speaking my piece. And I love you all. And this is why I'm saying it. God loves you more.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Thank you so much, Jen Weber. Crazy Legs, amazing. Thank you very much. This has been just a wonderful session of just the value of your experiences, and that you were so generous in sharing your historical impact on not just hip hop, but our overall culture and society. And Curtis, just spoke to it directly, that the intent of great music and expression is to heal. There's a record actually from the early 70s when hip hop is coming up by the OJs. It wasn't necessarily considered a breakbeat, but the song did say music is the healing force of the world. And when we create, when we generate, you try to have that mindset. You try to have that as a part of your soul. And Crazy Legs talked about watching Soul Train on Saturday morning. Soul, the essence of what's in us. So let's hope that the next 50 years of hip hop, provides and reemerges those attributes that made this stuff so incredible in the Bronx in the 60s and the 70s. My thanks to the stellar production team at NJPAC, the folks that make me look good for the past hour and a half. David Rodriguez, John Schreiber, Donna Walker-Kuhn, Greg Pierce, Katie Stein, and Kitab Rollins. It's incredible what you help put together. These times that we are able to talk about culture are just, again, so incredibly valuable. And we thank you for the effort. At this point, it is time for me to throw it back to Donna as we close out the evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. This was an amazing discussion. We learned so much from all of you with the history. Oh my gosh. So thank you again, as Bill said, for your generosity. And I certainly want to thank our audience for listening and asking really great questions. So we have these social justice panels every month. Next month, our topic is going to be environmental injustice. So we're going to be looking at what we can do regarding climate change. This is something that directly affects our communities. So that'll be on Monday, December 18th. Of course, I know you all have Hip Hop Nutcracker in your calendar for December 23rd, but also come early and celebrate Kwanzaa with us. NJPAC does a major takeover of Kwanzaa in the entire building with performances, workshops, vendors, all kinds of things. So please join us. So we look forward to seeing all of you again. Thank you, panel. Please continue celebrating hip hop, and as we will too at NJPAC. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.